What's up, YouTube? This your boy Thomas back again with another rendition of Truth Be Told. Now this week there wasn't any real major news going on, except for what's her face dropped the bomb that the Biden administration, or whatever you want to call them, has been using big tech to spy on people and to freaking censor everybody who doesn't go along with what they say is correct information, which is misleading because they're the ones who are spreading the misinformation. Anyways, we knew it all along to begin with. Now they're just confirming it. And it needs to stop because it goes against the Constitution. It's freedom of speech, and they're trying to censor freedom of speech, which you can't do by law. So they're in hot water over that shit. Alright, let's get on to your movie reviews. The first one I'm going to talk about is a new series. It's called Black Summer. This is basically a zombie television show. Now, when I first started watching this, I was real skeptical because most movies in general and television shows just suck at the zombie apocalypse crap. They're very cliched, and this one isn't too far off. This one literally copies half the ton of shit that you see in The Walking Dead. Some of the characters are just really lame, and you should have known right off the bat that the whole story was pretty much going to revolve around this Rose woman, which is the worst character in the entire show. It's so cliche, the soccer mom, and then when you get to her daughter, that's cliche too, because it's the soccer mom who becomes a hard ass, no feelings, just kill or be killed bullshit. Same thing, and then her daughter who pretty much becomes the same thing. It's just fucking retarded. These two bitches would be dead right off the fucking bat. Plain and simple, if it was based on reality. Anyways, the show, like I said, a lot of cliches. Now, in the first season, Rose gets people killed constantly through the first season. She's constantly getting people killed. She's, oh, do this, do that, and then they end up dying trying to help her out. So she does that quite often in the first season. The Lance character, he's such a beta male, it's not even funny. He would have died pretty quickly in reality. It takes a while, but he eventually does in this show. But he's a pansy. The Korean woman, Sun, lives in the United States, but knows entirely no English practically whatsoever, is bullshit. I don't care if you're a foreigner or not, you know a little bit of English. It may not be the best English, but you know a little bit if you're living in the United States. Just plain and simple. So that character is dumb. When they all get to the stadium, it was so fucking retarded. They're showing up, creeping up, everybody's creeping up. They all have their own groups. It reminded me of Shaun of the Dead, when they all found each other, they crossed each other to two groups. This one has tons of these groups of survivors and they all have fucking guns, and they're all creeping up on each other. Then they just start shooting each other and killing each other, and then creating more zombies. And then you have this chaotic scene. Oh, it was so dumb. The end of season 1 was so dumb, that last episode. Now, the character I wish they would have stuck with is I don't know if he was Native American or Hispanic, but that guy, I think they should have kept him. But no, they killed him off at the end of season 1. Now, season 2, they skipped 4 months ahead, and the show got really cheap because all the sets were centered around this fucking house, an airfield, and a fucking like ski lodge set up in the mountains with snow all around. So they know they could they had the money to fucking shoot and film these locations easily. They weren't in the middle of fucking town like they were in season 1. So it made it a lot easier, which is stupid. It's just cheap. I'd rather see them in the middle of the city, not outside of fucking town. It's just dumb. But that's literally, it's literally, oh, well, everybody's going to turn on each other. You have all these group of survivors who are just going to turn on each other and kill each other for resources. Blah, blah, blah. Another cliche of The Walking Dead. Of course, again, Rose, the worst character of the entire fucking show, is the fucking main character again. This show does one thing that I absolutely hate whenever a TV show does, is when they try to bounce back, or they bounce around from past, present, and future just constantly, and I hate that shit. Just do a linear timeline. Don't bounce around. It's confusing and it's dumb as fuck. I want to know straight through what the fuck happened. I don't want to see this bounce around bullshit. It's stupid. There is one thing in episode 2 when it shows the cop for the first time. He's got a bunch of zombies that charge after him, and he locks himself in this room with no way out. He grabs some weapons and shit, and then all of a sudden the zombies stop banging on the door after like 5 seconds. He continues to grab his shit, and then he just basically opens the door, walks right on out. No zombies. Like, what the fuck? They were just banging on the fucking door. Now all of a sudden they're gone? Bullshit. They know he's in there. They're trying to get into it. That's just dumb. It was dumb. It was a dumb scene. Anyways, the ending was kind of dumb too. I didn't care for the ending. They left it off for season 3. I don't know. The ending was dumb. Only the Korean chick made it to the plane. Everybody else stayed behind. I don't know. This show is so cliche of The Walking Dead, it's not even funny. It's alright for a one-time watch, but it's not the greatest of zombie shows, I'm telling you right now. You're better off watching The Walking Dead. And even I got sick of that after about season 4 or so, because it was literally rinse and repeat effect. You know, they had to fight against another group of survivors, and then here comes the zombies to destroy everything. End season, start next season, do the same thing all over again. So, like it or not, it's okay for a zombie show, but it's really bad cliched. Very dark. You almost don't want to watch it because you know it's going to be fucked up, whatever the next episode is. It's okay. Check it out if you want. I don't recommend it though because it's not the best. They could have done way better with this show, but they didn't. Alright, moving on to the next one. Next one I want to talk about is an older show in the 80s called Friday the 13th, the series. This is an anthology TV show. I remember seeing episodes when I was younger. I liked it because they were constantly trying to collect these supposedly satanic objects that give the possessor a certain type of ability if they killed with the object or killed for the object, one or the two. Then it would give them a particular, like they give the object a life and it gives them an ability. And most generally it was only for a short time, like they'd have to recharge the battery by killing another person. So you have Mickey, Ryan, and Jack. They're collecting these objects from people because the owner of the store was Mickey and Ryan's uncle and Jack's friend, or used to be friend, before he turned to the dark arts and sold his soul to Satan. Blah blah blah. So now they're trying to get all the objects back, cursed objects, and lock them away. There's a few things that bothered me about the show. One, they're constantly finding murdered people, but then they're leaving the crime scene and they get away with it. It made no sense. Like, surely the cops would figure out that they'd been at the crime scene. You almost never see the cops in any of the episodes. Almost never. Once in a while you will see the cops, but they don't ever really question them. Rarely does Jack perform magic, but he does a few times, especially when he fights Lewis a couple of times, and that's it. I thought What a Mother Wouldn't Do was kind of a dumb episode. It was about a baby crib or some shit. Some of the objects are just bizarre. It made no sense that they were cursed objects. The vampire bees, that was a little strange. You know, you stick your hand in the hole and you get stung and killed and shit, and they suck out your blood, and then they give it to the person and they're able to rejuvenate. I know, it was weird. The Playhouse episode was a little freaky. You know, the children were calling other kids, making them disappear in the neighborhood because they would go in this little playhouse and then they let the playhouse eat their souls. It was weird. That was bizarre. And then by the time you get to the end of season 2, they get rid of the Ryan character and they bring in this other guy named Johnny. Ryan turns into a little kid again and he don't remember anybody. It's kind of strange. It made no sense why they did that. It was just a dumb episode. It was a dumb idea. Whoever thought of it. It was dumb. I didn't care for the guy who played Johnny all that much. I preferred Ryan. Anyways. Other than that, it was a good anthology show though. It was neat to watch. I thought it was a cool concept, you know, them going after cursed objects. But it was pretty cheesy. It was a Canadian show, and a lot of your Canadian shows are just really cheesy. You see that a lot on the new Sci-Fi ever since the Canadians took it over, Sci-Fi channel. They just have like a weird, I don't know, a weird vibe to them whenever it's a Canadian show. It's just really cheesy. Warehouse 13 was really cheesy too, you know. But still, it was a great show for what it was back then. It was okay. It wasn't bad. I highly recommend it. Check it out. I think you'll like it if you like horror anthology shows. I give it 2 thumbs up. Check it out. Alright, let's move on to your B-movie reviews. Alright, Movieholics. Moving on to your B-movie reviews. This week is Horror Week. Now, I am reviewing a particular movie that, again, the Hollywood Horror Museum suggested. I'd heard of it, but I'd never seen it. It was done in 1981. It starred Fred McCurran and Rebecca Balding, and it's called The Boogens. I couldn't find a box office number on this. Sometimes it's hard to find them for older movies. Basically, the whole story is you got some people that go into this old mine, open it up, and by opening up some cave-ins or whatever in the old mine, they open up a section of the mine that has like these underground creatures that live in there. They look like giant snapping turtles. And they basically come out and start killing everybody involved in the opening of the mine. Plus an old man who'd been keeping an eye on the mine for a long time, hoping it'd never get opened again. Anyways, it kills pretty much everybody except for one of the workers and his new girlfriend. They just started dating or whatever. As far as special effects go, it was pretty lame. It was bad. Pretty cheesy puppet type shit. I give it a 2 on the special effects because it was just really cheap ass shit. I mean, it was okay for what it was, but it was pretty cheap and cheesy. So I give it a 2. The acting wasn't bad. I give it a 3. The actors didn't do too bad. It was enough that kept you watching the movie and not having a problem with. The overall story, I'm not sure if this is the first one to do the underground monster type stuff. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure there was probably another one before that. But it's a story that's been done quite often since then, at least. So, you know, the story, I'll give it a 3 since it was fairly a new type of story back then. So overall, this movie, you know, it gets a -3. It was all right. It was enjoyable enough to watch it one time, and that's about it. Do I recommend it? Not unless you're really a hardcore horror fan. You know, especially with creature features, because it was kind of cheesy and a little lame. So I give it a thumbs up and a thumbs down. It's good for a one-time watch. The next movie I want to talk about is similar. It dealt with underground creature feature again. It's called Graveyard Shift. Now, this was a short story done by Stephen King turned into a movie. It starred David Andrews and Kelly Wolf, and it was done in 1990. And it made about $11.5 million at the box office, which was okay. It was about average for back then. This movie basically dealt with a supervisor or foreman who was kind of a dick. He was a real dick to everybody at a cotton mill. Now, David Andrews plays this character where he's kind of like a drifter. He's just coming through, and he takes a job there that nobody really wants. People tend to disappear in this town often, and it's usually something to do with the mill, and nobody can explain why or figure out why. It's been going on for years. Anyways, you later find out the foreman has an extra graveyard shift job for everybody to do this one particular week, and it's cleaning up the basement of the old mill. So they're down there and they're spraying rats and everything else, and next thing you know, they end up in they find a trap door and they end up in this old mine shack. Come to find out, the mill's built on top of these network of mining tunnels, and they get trapped and lost in there. And while they're in there, they know something's after them, something big. So they realize what's trying to kill them is this giant bat, and it picks them off one by one. Now, I don't understand why the water, there's a scene in there where the water was all red underground. It made no sense, unless they're trying to make it like it's full of blood, which again made no sense. But it picks them off one by one until the very end, where David Andrews' character escapes. The giant bat comes after him and then gets caught into the cotton feeder, and he slingshots a can into to hit the on button. It turns on the machine, and then it grinds up the giant bat. Now, the special effects, I give a -3 because it was pretty cheesy. You very rarely got to see the giant bat. You just get glimpses of him until the very end, and it was a pretty cheesy looking puppet. But, it was an 80s, horror flick. What do you expect? Creature feature, The acting, you had some really great actors in this, so I give the acting definitely a solid 3. Great acting, kept the story going. As far as the story-wise go, it was kind of different, back Of course, for back then, you really didn't see this too often. Once in a while, you see a creature feature, but not one with a giant bat and living in an underground mine. So it's definitely unique in that sense. So I give the story a solid 3. It was a good, decent story. Overall, this movie gets a 3 for me. It was decent. It had some great actors in it, so the acting was good. As far as the creature feature, it was pretty good. I liked it. I enjoyed it, even though it was Stephen King. Stephen King does some good stories, but every once in a while, some of his stories just, or when they're executed on film, it just kind of sucks. But for the most part, most of his stuff is good. This one was one of the better ones, for sure. If you're a horror fan, especially with creature features, I definitely highly recommend this one. 2 thumbs up. Check it out. Anyways, that's all I have for you this week. If you have any thoughts about what I talked about earlier in the video about Black Summer or Friday 13th, the series, please leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. If you have any suggestions, or you can think of any underrated B movies or cult classics you think I might not have ever seen, please leave your suggestions down in the comments down below, and I'll get to reviewing them as soon as I can. Until next time, I told you you'd be told the truth, and you've just been told.